All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe, Goose, Angelique, and Jim Empowered. In this episode, we have special guests, Jim and Angelique of Dear Divorcee. We cover topics that range from empowering divorced women, social events, support groups, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Bob Riley and Christopher Reeve. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, Angelique and Jimmy, a.k.a. Jim. Thank you guys for joining us. I know you guys traveled some distance. Yep. We appreciate you guys. And for those of us who do not know who you are and what you do, we'll start with you, sir.
Sure.
Let us know.
Yeah, I'm Jim Rossner. Me and Angelique are actually starting our own financial planning practice, and that's where this Dear Divorcee led into. So
nice.
Kind of started there until we dive in.
Nice.
Yeah, so Angelique, also a financial planner.
Nice.
Dear Divorcee stemmed out of that, which I think we'll get into.
Sure.
But thanks for having us.
Yeah, I also want to thank Kyle Curry for introducing us. His what he's doing over at the Wave, and all that's great
right.
too. So
the boys at
shout
the Wave.
Shout them out. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, cool. So how did you get started in the industry? So you're saying it started off with financial planning. So explain a little bit about that. You went to school together. How'd that work out?
Yeah, we actually didn't go to school together at all. And even when we started working together, it took about 9 months to actually want to start chatting and building something. But
no hard feelings.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so basically, I joined our company about 5 years ago. I think Jim joined about 3 years ago now. Yeah, so it did take us a year to actually start talking.
Nice.
Kind of stemming, I went to George Mason, so
Okay.
I grew up in the Virginia area. Obviously, Jim is here from Philly, which is how he got connected with you guys.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so we just kind of got into that. I'm passionate about it because my parents never had the proper financial education.
Okay.
So that's what got me into it out of college, but I know Jim's background is a little bit different.
Yeah,
Nice.
I came from the business benefits planning world,
Okay.
so I love working with business owners, like
Yeah.
yourself, kind of
Absolutely,
thing, and knowing
absolutely.
the unique problems that you have, and just taking the approach of helping them figure all that stuff out. So
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. So the company and the movement and the what do you guys want to call it? Is it a support group, or how do you want to word this?
Yeah, I'd say it's a support group.
Yeah.
So Dear Divorcee, kind of the history behind it.
Okay.
So through financial planning, I started working with a lot of divorced women.
Okay.
So I had been through divorce. My parents had been divorced.
Wow.
Just kind of realized that a lot of women needed the education
Like
behind
it.
moving through, the financial aspect throughout the divorce process. Just kind of rebuilding themselves and whatnot. And I would do a lot of seminars and workshops, and that's how I was getting a lot of women as clients. And realized that it's not like Sex and the City where all the women have single friends,
Sure.
you know?
Right.
Yeah, a lot of times it was more of like they were, all the friends were still married. They were the third or fifth wheel, or they weren't getting invited out anymore. And there's just that aspect of loneliness.
Yeah.
And so I try to find some sort of group to get involved in and to get my clients involved in, and literally could not find anything.
Wow.
It was ridiculous. You would think since divorce is 50%
yeah, it's so obviously rampant,
Right.
but there's really no groups out there. And I was surprised when she's telling me this, and I checked it. Like, I looked and searched, and there really isn't anything out there. So
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so basically I just threw this together trying to just get my clients out of the house,
Right.
do brunches, stuff like that, make other friends.
Nice.
And then Jim joined on about a year ago now. Yeah, to take it to a next level, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But
Yeah, for sure. So that is interesting, right? I mean, even depending on when you get married, as you get older, you see, your friends are now, getting married. They have their own little thing. Nothing wrong with it. It's just they're busy and they're, capturing their own little lives.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, now you find yourself back, I guess not square one, but just in a different situation as to, what it was. And everyone's different, right?
yeah.
It's tough to get back into the swing of things. It's
normal,
things
whatever
are
that
way
is.
different.
Right.
Even like 2-3 years, even if
Yeah.
that's what it was. With social media and all this other stuff, there's just a lot that changes, and the approach that people use nowadays is totally different. So when you found that need, you were just like, let's just get a bunch of women together, or what was your first little event that you kind of did?
Yeah, so the first event, I did a brunch in Old Town Alexandria in Virginia.
Okay.
It was probably about 8 to 10 of us.
Yeah.
And most of them were divorced. A couple of them were just girlfriends I had through the networking world.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, meet me up for brunch.
Yeah.
I sent out little invites, and people showed up and had a great time. We had mimosas and, loosened people up a little bit. But no, it was fun. And then from there, I was like, okay, this actually works.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do it again. And so we tried other events too.
And so like the other thing is kind of like that, I guess the emotional part where even if you do hang out with your good old friends from back in the day, college, high school, neighborhood friends, whatever it is, they don't really necessarily know what you're going through per se. I mean, even if you tell them, it's still kind of hard to really explain yourself or explain the emotion or, whatever, all the thoughts that are going behind that. So when you have other people who've, been through that, situation, that makes the most sense, and you feel it's a lot more relatable. And I guess, I would assume it's more you can open up more, or they're understanding.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where we're looking to build. How I see it is a community, right?
Sure.
And that's the whole idea of a community of folks that are going through the same very unique struggles. Like I haven't been divorced, I don't know what that's like at all.
Sure.
They're very unique things that all these people share, and again, just being in a setting where you're enjoying yourselves, having a mimosa, you're more comfortable sharing similar stories. You're more with each other. And,
sure.
I'll expand more with the community on the professional side, but that's really what we're looking to build, where it's just a community of everyone having a good time, sharing stories, and really no judgment for anything, because that's, everyone's got their own kind of story. Sure.
So have you guys found that similarities in some of your clients, or similarities in some of the folks that are in the group, whereas the one thing is obviously is the same, is that we're all divorced? Is there something that's a common thread also with that, or is it just that everyone's situation is totally different?
There's a mix. I think a lot of what's similar is that the women that we meet, because we seem to attract a lot of like an older crowd that are going through divorce. So for them, it's like they've not lost just their marriage, but also a sense of identity.
Wow.
Because you've been with this person for, call it 10, 15, 20 years, right?
Yeah.
You've had a whole life together. Something changed, you get divorced. There's a few different aspects in the sense where, because that's still the generation that like the husband handled the finances.
Sure.
That's a huge piece that we see being financial planners is, okay, how do we rebuild that in a way that's not going to really set you back so much for retirement? How do we educate you around the finances so you actually know what things are?
Sure.
And even educating around what you have, because a lot of women don't even know like what they have out there. And then the other aspect is just rebuilding the vision that they had, because they had this idea of the rest of their life, their future, their retirement, whatever it was, and not just their money's being cut in half, but their lifestyle is being cut in half. And or it's just different.
Yeah, and
so
and
helping people.
Yeah, exactly. Like finding, since it's all different, it's kind of interesting what I found, where it's like they're almost discovering themselves, right? It's not their family, it's not them. It's like, hey, well, I'm here alone. I get the kids X days, but like, what is it I'm looking for? What is it looking to do? And that's been something interesting, kind of, with the whole, as you said, like social media, like that adds a whole new layer
really
of everything
does.
of like, hey, my friends are gonna, everyone's gonna see this. It just adds a whole layer of a lot heaviness to work through.
And I think one of my favorite parts about it, though, is we meet people in the beginning of the divorce process, and there's just a lot of unknown territory. There's a lot of insecurity, etc.
Sure.
Once they've gone through it and or have more information, or have started to figure out like, hey, I have time for me again, not just putting the family first, but like I can do what I want to do. Like sometimes getting rid of the kids for a weekend isn't a bad thing.
Absolutely.
Like they just become such more, and that's part of where the empowerment comes from, is they're so much more empowered and so much more excited about life, and it's just cool to see that transformation.
I love it. All right, so in your all's opinion, what does empowerment mean to you?
I think empowerment is, there's kind of twofold, right?
Sure.
So I think one is kind of a feeling inside of you. So almost like a new liveliness, a new feeling about yourself to kind of rise up and be you, whoever that is. And then I think coming from like an outside looking in is just helping people find that aspect of themselves.
And how I see it, someone once said that in our office, like there's a single truth, and you can either see the bad side and the negative side. There's both for everything, and it's your choice of how you want to look at it. In real terrible situations like that, it's easy to just see the negative, see the bad. And to the empowerment point, I think it is all around the education and learning to look at things a little different. Like, hey, you are in control of your finances, of your legal situation, of you're here, you're in control, you're not alone. I think that's the biggest empowerment that I've seen, for these women.
Absolutely, and I think there's a lot to build up when you feel, I guess, at a time where you kind of feel down and out, so to speak. And sometimes it's obviously for the better, but sometimes you don't necessarily feel that way when it just had happened. Deep down you might this is for the better, but it's just not
Still
a good
hurts.
feeling. Absolutely, some heavy stuff. And then the other thing is if you have kids,
multiplies it.
Yes, and so now it's because you're dealing with your own emotional I guess feelings and everything you're going through, but then they're also you're feeling for your kids, and that hurts probably just as much or even worse.
Exactly.
And so the empowerment part, I think, is the biggest ticket. I think that's where it starts, building the confidence, injecting their day or their mind with, you can do this, you got this, we're here for the support. And I think it goes back on what you guys were saying earlier, hanging out with, kind of just hanging loose with people also been through it, where everything's so methodical in, I guess, the divorce process, where you could finally kind of let loose. It's like,
you don't have to have a guard up.
I'm not paperwork anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like this legal binding, and it's just like you take it. It's to that point where it's like, all right, I get that has to be done, but I'm a person.
Well, I think it's nice too, because when women hang out with their friends who haven't been through a divorce, it's easy to say, oh, well, you should do this, you should do that, you should be asking for this, you should get that, when they don't really know their parameters.
Take them to town.
For real. Wow. They just get you worked up.
That's how it is.
And so even sometimes women that have been through the divorce go the same
route,
say the same things because they're like, well, in my divorce, I got this, etc. But not every divorce is the same. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. But I think being able to talk about the divorce and actually relating to people, and sometimes the women don't want to talk about it, right? They go out with their friends. Their friends are always asking about it. It's something they actually don't want to talk about. So they come to the group to almost bond with other women that have been through it but also are tired of talking about it, you know?
That makes sense.
To just get out of the house and actually be, a single lady.
And I found that very interesting too when I came on a year ago. I was like, hey, let's do surveys. You do a lot of great educational stuff. We do a lot of fun stuff. Let's see what we want. We kind of wanted to go with the more education.
Sure.
And a lot of the surveys, they said, hey, we love having this credit expert. We love this mortgage, all specializes in it. But sometimes we just want to go and not think about divorce. And that's where it was really interesting for us, where it's like, hey, it's good for us. Maybe we just do more fun events, and every now and then an attorney Q&A. But it's been interesting from my standpoint. That's what they're looking for, is that bonding, that community of having fun, not just learning all the time.
And that's where the friendships really stem from. I have a lot of the women on Facebook, and I see them hanging out, and I'm like, hey, where was my invite? I don't want to introduce you guys. No, it's great because there's been some good friendships that have come out of it already.
Sure. I think it's all part of the healing process. Is there advice that you give outside of financial stuff? Is there, again, the healing process, just getting out of a relationship in general? We tend to do certain things, or we do things out of spite. I don't know what that entails and why, us as people do things like this. But is there advice given on that, on that aspect? Don't do nothing drastic with your money. Don't do nothing crazy, just because there's probably anger as well, I'm assuming.
So I'd say there's two pieces of advice that I found useful. I'm not a therapist, but I heard this from a therapist, during one of the workshops. So there's, I believe it's either 5 or 7 different steps of emotions that you go through.
Oh, wow.
So whether that's from anger to depression to happiness, etc., all along the scale. She said, let yourself feel those things and know that you're feeling them, but continue moving on, because it's one of those things where your body, you need to go through it, but it can't hold you down. So acknowledge the steps, feel them out. Know if you're going one extreme or the other. So are you eating? Oh, are you overeating now? Or are you not eating enough? See where you are on that scale. And so kind of let yourself filter through each of them so that you're actually recovering, but make sure that you're getting to the end and moving on. So I think that was a huge moment for a lot of people when they hear that in the workshop, because they're like, I have been feeling all these and I've been beating myself up for feeling them, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Rather than just letting it happen. And then I think the best other piece of advice is when it comes to divorce, you really have to approach it like a business. Like, it's hard, right? Because there's so much emotion tied to it, especially if you have kids, especially if you have finances going on.
Sure.
I've seen fights over dogs.
Yeah.
I would fight
I
over a
bet.
dog, you know? But don't take my dogs.
Those are fighting words.
Yeah, exactly. But really, if you can take the emotion out when it comes to making decisions, you'll get through the divorce process so much better off.
Yeah.
You know, and if you can keep that mindset, it'll just be easier. It'll be a lot faster, and you can move on with the rest of your life.
Now, is there steps that you guys use, and is there kind of like phases that, you know, members of the group go through? So if they are fresh out of the divorce, up through all the steps that you kind of go through, and have you seen yet someone kind of move on to another relationship and kind of get out of that mindset? And what's that like? Do you stay in communication with these people?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different workshops. So there's one called Second Saturday. It's actually, I want to say it's national.
Okay.
So there's a group called wife.org
Okay.
that puts these on. Basically, you can purchase a territory. So we work with several law firms that are hosting those workshops already. Basically, it has financial person, a family law attorney, real estate professionals, therapists. So it kind of gives you the whole premise of the workshop is to give you a whole gamut of what to expect moving through the divorce process.
Gotcha.
Just to kind of equip you with the information. Now, you're not going to remember everything, right?
Sure,
but
it's
it's
a lot,
also building your team so that you know who you can count on. And so that's, I'd say, is kind of primarily for the people in the beginning of the process. And then we have a workshop that's, it's like we call it attorney Q&A.
Okay.
So if you want to explain that.
Yeah, it's kind of Dear Divorcee's own one of the events that we've hit that we found just strikes a chord with a lot of women, because, you know, for them, they get to talk to an attorney for an hour, and that's, you know, and not have
Over
to pay.
happy hour.
Yeah, and not have to pay $200 to do it, right? Like,
Right,
lawyers
right.
are expensive. We all
It's
know
huge.
that, and
Yeah.
the lawyers love doing it, helping, you know, 15 women going through the process. And it's interesting that we have seen them all throughout the process, where it's one just getting started, one that's right in the middle of it, one that has it all figured out but has some child care issue, like all this across
after
the
the
spectrum.
divorce,
Exactly,
yeah.
all before and after. And again, and that's what I'm happy to see that, because that's the message we're looking to have, where it's like, hey, wherever you are in the process, like, you know, the new person will help learn from the person that's been through it all, and you know, vice versa. So yeah, it's all over.
It's huge. Just thinking about now, like the professionalism and the experts that you guys bring on. On the flip side, so is there advice you would give someone who's maybe about to go through this process, and there's a possible way to avoid it, or is it just kind of an inevitable thing, and it's just, you know? Because a lot of us, okay, so for example, sometimes in relationships, they say opposites attract. Somebody might be a little bit more dominant. I'm going to take care of the finances, you take care of X, Y, and Z, and then just keep it moving. Whereas, you know, prior to this might be happening in someone's relationship. They're like, oh, this is not working out. But kind of almost like prepping somebody before the actual process takes place.
Yeah, I mean, I think that open communication is always key. And I think it comes down to, if you have a partner that's willing to like put in effort and work on it with you, and you two want to do that, definitely explore that avenue first. We've had people come talk to us that are saying, hey, I'm contemplating this. They're just getting some information, and then they end up staying together and working it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most people, though, once we're meeting them at workshops or they're coming to the group, they're typically already in it.
Okay.
And or are already seeking attorneys and stuff like that. So
Gotcha.
I don't think it ever hurts to try, you
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
to like even things out. But
Yeah,
I think-
our only other like blanket advice I would think is like just talk to a lawyer, because there's a lot that we've seen. They think they can do it or just
Right.
wiggle out, but hey, like just
family
talk.
law attorney,
exactly.
not any
You can-
lawyer, not any like
exactly.
I do everything type of law, like family law, because family law
Specifically.
is so, they have so many nuances that you miss one
Okay.
little piece of language in a document, and somebody can come back and reopen files that you thought were closed out. You know?
wow.
So
Yeah,
And how
specific.
would someone find that? Is there you know, like a Angie's List for this kind of stuff? Or because I seen signs that you just mentioned it, like get divorced for $199, you know, whatever. Like, dude, it's like, is that, what is that? I don't know.
It's like quick divorces, whatever.
right. So in
1-800
Virginia, I mean, it's always great to ask friends and family,
Sure.
right, or colleagues, whoever, because
Yeah.
if you can get a referral to somebody, those are
Yeah.
typically, you know, professionals that you know are great quality.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, I know that family law attorneys do a lot of social media advertisements and things of that nature, you know, so you could easily just Google it and find one with good reviews if you don't have anybody
and even that's, you know, you can reach out to us. That's kind of what we're looking to be, where we have a network of a variety of professionals. And Angelique has the most with the family law because that's how it all started, and we have a great group of different ones. And what I found interesting too in the family law world and space is that, you know, we had one family law attorney and from one firm and another from a different firm. I'm like, they're gonna get along, like we're gonna get in there. But it's a very collaborative world where they definitely walk and talk, and they say, hey, this case is for that and that, and they collaborate, which I found very interesting. So
when they network so much because they go up against each other in either negotiations or in trial, right? So they know each other, they know how each other works, and if you have a good reputation, you're typically friends with other family law attorneys, which can be helpful, right? Because if you have somebody good that's representing you, the other side's attorney, if they're also a quality professional, they're going to work things out because they know
it's easier to make a deal.
The reputation of that other professional.
That's huge.
And I'm sure they've all done with different versions of the divorces and all stuff too. So they
So I know you guys use the Meetup platform. Can you explain, what folks can get out of joining this, or what you're trying to use? I don't know if it's something new, something you have used, and how effective it is.
Yeah. So actually, this is kind of where I started coming in. So she had a Meetup group, and there were 250 members, and it was great. So she would host like a salsa night dancing. I think it was like one of your best events, and like 15 people would show up, and she's like, great, like I got something going. She'd do the same thing, same time, same day, and like no one would show up. So I'm starting your business, it's kind of, you get that. It's tough building on your own. And, while we're building our financial planning practice, that there's a lot of time and energy spent in that too. I was wearing Angelique down. She's like, wow, like I'm thinking of getting rid of this or not. Like, I don't know what to do. And she's talking to me. I'm like, wow, if only you had like someone to help you like with this.
It was too funny because he didn't point at himself like he's doing
I think I did. But.
Yeah, he was like, if only you had someone. I was like, yeah, for real. Yeah. And he was like, it's me. I can help you. I was like, oh.
Yeah, and her thing was like, I'm either going to get rid of it or change it to some subscription model or something like that. So at least there's some sort of buy-in. And that's kind of what we did and did it moving forward, where it's like, let's get some subscription model. It's only $20 a year. So again, it's peanuts kind of thing. We didn't want it to be, like a money thing, but some sort of buy-in where the members like, or hey, I do want to go to this event since I'm paying $20. So it's like some sort of little buy-in there. And, again, like 20% of the net we give to charity. We always mix it up. The Women's Center was in the first quarter, and the other one's like a 007 benefit that's helping us collaborate on fun events too. So we're always looking to give back. And again, all the money that we do have for that, we're nonprofit. We're not making a profit. So we just spend it back and have it on the events, which is always a fun time. So
that's awesome.
That's what we're looking to build, the membership there on Meetup. And, we have the events on Eventbrite too. So that's where it's like, you can pay $10 for each Eventbrite thing, or you can be on Meetup and do $20 for the whole year, and you get the free Eventbrite link, so you can invite your friends and not make it feel like pay $10 to come in this. We didn't really want to have that kind of feel. We truly wanted to have like, hey, this is a community, you're a part of it. Bring your friends. We want us to be a fun time. Let's just help grow it. So
it kind of incentivizes all around.
Right.
Exactly. That's exactly the idea.
It's huge to have the buy-in, though. I mean, that's on the studies show this. There's people, they're going to treat something better if they either work for it, paid for it, whatever it is. That's even like with the kid, my kids. Get a bike, you bought a bike, he worked for it, he saved up his money. He's going to shine that bad boy up. You know what I mean? More than if we just got it for Christmas or something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
There's totally, there's a psychological thing there, which I think is good.
Buy-in.
Absolutely, have that layer of buy-in. So explain some of the events. I know you said salsa dancing, which is awesome. What kind of other events are you trying to do or you've done already that worked?
Yep, so some that have worked, wineries. Have been great.
That's awesome.
So we try to do local wineries where they don't have to drive too far, but it's still like a nice view. We've done brunches. The salsa night was a good time when people came. It was like one of the little ones.
Yeah, it was great.
We learned how to dance salsa. They do like a lesson part, and then you have the open dancing afterwards.
Right.
I mean, we've done a couple of different things. I think some things we're trying to get into is more co-ed events.
Okay.
So we've gotten some feedback there about women wanting to socialize with other single men, and then like family fun days. So King's Dominion isn't too far from us, so we're planning an event out there.
Next one's gonna be like at a spa that again our 007 benefit had a relationship to. So again, it's like have a spa set up in a room with a bar, and again just see the spa, relax, get a massage if you want. Again, just kind of fun event out there. So.
I like it.
That one's October 10th.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What can you explain a little bit of this 007? What is that?
Yeah. So they're someone we've met out in the networking world, and she runs her own profit. That's for Terrorist Memorial Foundation. It's George Bush's foundation, and they have their annual black tie event that they just had for remembering September 11th. Huge event in DC that they get like a bunch of mayors and stuff for, and she just gets what we're doing. She gets our mission, and she's there to help, and she has a lot of great relationships with like, you know, the local Lamborghini dealership. So we're doing happy hours, just bring that there. And it's a whole like 007 theme. So it's awesome. Like, you know, it's nice to have a happy hour. And like for the spa, it's, you know, 007 theme. So she's going to dress up as a Bond girl. I'm going to dress up, I'm James Bond. So I'm going to do the whole like black
tuxedo.
Yeah, the tuxedo and all that. I really like.
Yeah, I was a little excited about that.
I used to bartend, and I miss those days, man. It's fun.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, and she's like real high energy and loves it. So I that's like someone on our team that we want to help grow the community and build it. And yeah, it's been great.
That's awesome. All right, so explain to us what a divorce party is. I was very interested. I saw that. I don't know if that's something.
I'm excited about that one.
Yeah.
All right, so explain that
one
for.
of our initiatives.
I like that. All right, so just explain.
So I will give Jim kudos because this was his idea. When one of the first things when he joined on with us. So basically, a divorce party is anyone that has gotten divorced within the last quarter gets a special celebration.
Nice.
So you don't have to get divorced in that quarter to attend, but they get like extra recognition. They get prizes. They get sometimes
raffles.
we have raffles at each of our things, and sometimes the restaurants will give gift cards and stuff that go in along with that. So basically, it's just. We try to look at it as instead of, oh gosh, I just got divorced.
Like
it's like
two truths again.
Yeah, exactly. The kind of the positive side of you just got divorced. Congratulations. You are like on a new path to a new you know? And so that's kind of the premise behind it. It's just celebrating the new life that they have ahead of them.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I remember reading that question. Divorce party. Explain. I can only imagine.
So explain. I know we're talking about events, parties. What part of the process does this help a divorced person? Is it more of like the healing process, getting them out of the house, so to speak? In your opinion?
Yeah, I'd say it's different for everyone.
Sure.
I think some people come. I mean, like I said, or like Jim said, we get people through all stages of the process. Sometimes people are just in the contemplation stage. They're not even sure, if they're going to go through with it. Some people are smack dab in the middle. Some people have been divorced for like 5 years but want to give back to the other women that are going through it. So I think for a lot of people, it's some sort of like emotional just support aspect, whether they're giving the support or they're getting the support.
Yeah.
And then obviously the education aspect, people find appreciative as well. So I think it just depends on what they're coming to the group for.
Okay.
But either way, I think it's healing in a way because you're getting over some aspect of whatever is troubling you.
Gotcha. Now, do you have like a day where someone graduates out of it, or is there just kind of like?
No,
is it
it's
like
not that kind of thing. We welcome everyone to come back.
Yeah.
And we want you forever.
Yes, exactly.
It's too funny.
It's like a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly.
So can you share some of possible, I mean, obviously some success stories where, in a sense, where you help somebody go through the entire process successfully and kind of gotten that feedback from them? Yeah,
so one of my favorite clients, not that I have favorites, but I love her, right? So we've been working together for about 3 years. She was one of the first people I met when I first started the group. She was one of the ones that came to the brunch. So she was there from like the very beginning.
Wow.
When I met her, she wouldn't really hold her head up. She kind of dressed in like sweats, you know, knew nothing about her financial situation, knew nothing about finances at all. It's something that she was always interested in, but her ex had never really had enough patience to talk to her about it to the point where she felt like she was kind of being a bug of asking, you know?
Sure.
So she went through the workshop twice, actually, to get information both times. She took millions of notes. We probably worked with her for about a year, just in terms of educating her on her finances, helping her figure out what she had. She had no idea where accounts were out there, etc. And then basically a year before she even started the divorce process. Yeah. She went through the divorce process for about 2 years. Wow. So it's not like a short amount of time, you know.
Yeah.
So exhausting. That just sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. Yeah. And so, because part of it was she was seeking out attorneys. So we recommended people that we knew. She looked up her own stuff. So basically just working with the attorneys, with the therapists. There's divorce coaches, you know, so working with all the professionals that she had, coaching her through it. She's one of the women that really started from like one side of being very timid to just, you know, now she dresses, gets her hair done. She's like in sundresses. She's laughing all the time. You know, it's just amazing to see the transformation. And she's in such a good spot right now.
Yeah. Does she come, is she still like involved or hang out, or does she come?
So she moved out of state. But I obviously keep in touch with her. Gotcha. Just because she's a client as well.
For sure.
Yeah, but she was coming to things pretty consistently.
That's a true success story there. I love it. So are you guys, what kind of other businesses are you looking to collaborate with, or you think will be helpful to kind of, you know, build what you have going on now?
Yeah, and that's where, you know, that's one of my biggest things coming in was gathering the professionals and having really, as, you know, what we're looking to have, every professional that a divorced person would need going through the process on our team. And that's where we've gotten, and it's been interesting hearing the feedback others have given, like, hey, have you looked at a therapist? Have you looked at a weight coach? Something like that, because that was a big thing. And lo and behold, you know, her story was very similar with a lot of divorce stories kind of thing. And we're just looking to grab as many professionals that we might not even be thinking of that really specialize, and they found like, hey, for some reason these divorced women really need my help, advice, and I'm guiding them along. And, you know, again, we're just financial planners with attorneys. Like we don't know there could be so much more out there of businesses that could help add on, but we've had it all from them. Credit specialist, in mortgage world, there's a whole specialization of designations for helping through divorce mortgages. I don't even know that's a thing, but it is. And the same on the realtor side. So we're looking to connect with any and everyone that helps that believes in our mission and the community and wants to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that Jim's done such a great job of after joining our group is I had a lot of those connections. You're welcome. I had a lot of those connections in the divorce space, but I think I didn't really know how to utilize them as much.
Got it.
So like we recently put together a monthly happy hour where it's literally just for the professionals. So kind of twofold. There is, obviously, we're keeping our group in front of them so they can, you know, send their clients in to get help or to get support or socialization, etc.
Gotcha.
But it's also allowing them to create introductions within each other.
That's where they don't really need us.
Huge.
Yeah, so that way, too, they're building their own relationships where if a client needs a resource, you know, then they have somebody there. And I think that's been very successful, too. And it's also like the more people are knowing about it, they're inviting like hairstylists to come in or CPAs. Like they're expanding it as well. So we're getting to some of those businesses just by getting together.
It's interesting that the happy hour came together because we were just like, oh, like after meeting with someone, like, oh, you should really meet with them. You'll really connect. Oh, hey, you should chat with them. Or like, we're just introducing everyone with everyone. Let's just sit a happy hour. They'll introduce. They'll meet themselves. Like they'll meet there. So
that's a great idea.
Yeah. All
right. So in 5 years. Where would you like to be, or whatever the years, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Where would you like for this to go? What would you like for it to grow into?
I would like to have the group in other locations.
Cool.
So, for example, like we're up here in Philly right now, right? But I'm down in D.C. I can't be in Philly and D.C. at the same time, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it'd be great to have people that see the vision of the group, whether it's a professional or whether it's somebody that's going and or gone through the process and start expanding it across the country.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Definitely, and go from city to city. I mean, we want to have it where it's a sustaining group, where it's a community that's, you know, just feeding itself, where we don't have to do that. Where again, we could, you know, if DC's just having the events run, we just hire someone that sets events, and then maybe we take it somewhere and build it up here. But I really think when we do that, it'll probably have to be organic, where probably a family law attorney sees us or reads us here from Pennsylvania. You can reach out to us on Divorcee, and you know, and then we'll like reach out to them and say like, hey, and collaborate with them, because that's what it's all about. Like, hey, if they believe the mission, they want to have something like that up here, and we'll reach out to all of our network. And you know, a lot of the companies we work with are large, especially along the East Coast, so maybe they have a division in Philly, and that'll start connecting things. But we do definitely want to expand this to different cities, and you know how we get there. It's the ride, right? We'll
Absolutely.
See how it gets there.
And once you do it once, I think it'll be a little much faster, you know, establishing yourself in the tri-state area or whatever it is. I do like the idea of the whole one-stop shop. They come to you and you kind of walk them through the process, and then obviously you have the connections with the other professionals, and everything that you need. It kind of alleviates some of the trickiness or craziness of the process.
Yeah.
Because just even like thinking about, I'm like overwhelmed, like, wow, you gotta do this, and this.
Yeah.
But if you already have it kind of basically laid out for the person, at least the concept of it, and then you could help them emotionally, and then you're injecting these events and kind of making, I guess the process much smoother than if someone were to tackle this by themselves.
Sure. Yeah, that's the goal.
All right, so really quick, we're going to jump into our advertisement, which is our lifestyle brand, blessedlife.com. Faith, hard work, and gratitude. This is the 3 steps we use. That's why the 3 is in the word blessed. Key to success. Don't forget to check out our new drop. Was it a hoodie? A splash hoodie. We like that. We're getting a lot of feedback with that. So blessedlife.com. We appreciate the love and support. All right. So I want to ask you guys individually. There's a lot that goes into your day job, and then you're putting this bad boy together. How do you manage work life, and how do you guys do all this? I'm always fascinated. Anytime we have a guest, it's a common question that we have every time because everybody gives a different answer. And I love it. So we'll start with you.
Jim keeps me accountable.
I love it. I love it.
That's ultimately what that comes down to. Yeah, I mean, the financial planning is obviously our core business, right? Okay. This is a nonprofit that we're doing kind of intertwined with that because there are a lot of things that we're doing in our day job anyways.
Sure.
That kind of lead into this, not just with the clients, but also just the networking aspect of working with the attorneys and therapists, etc. But I think Jim has had us do a good job of blocking out time every week to make sure that we're doing follow-up items on whatever is next in terms of our vision. And really making sure that we have that longer term plan and we're kind of backing that into what are we doing right now. But we have time for our lives and my dogs.
So to that, I do keep accountable with getting the stuff done. I don't like stuff slipping through cracks, but Angelique has helped a lot with, the home side of things because we are in a 100% commission job. And again, we're here going to be driving down to DC till midnight tonight. And it's just one of those things where it's tough balancing. We're like, hey, I'm here for the weekend. Is this a work trip or is this more right? And it's tough to figure that out. And she helped a lot with, again, like the pressures of everything that comes in our industry, our job. It's important to even, as I'm saying, there's the 2 truths. It's hard to do that. And having an accountability partner in that side where, it's like, hey, step back, like, look at this is happening and breathe kind of thing. It's easy to forget. And that's where, it seems like you guys have a good crew here. You got to have kind of support in some sort of way, some sort of accountability on the professional side and personal. It's just as important on the personal 100%. Side. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, so I'll start with you, Jim. What's your motivation? What gets you up every night? Every day?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's just what I'm looking to do with my life, where I want to, at the end of the day, you don't know when your time is. I just want to know that whenever that is, like I left it doing my best to help the most amount of people as I can. And I think, that's what I like about this. Seems like that's what you're trying to do. I think that's what we're all trying to do and figure it out in the right way. And that's the whole other thing where, going back to the first question, you kind of lose track of that vision. And it's tough losing track of, keeping that vision on in the day-to-day craziness, the ramble, the stuff that gets thrown on you, all of that. Sure. But you got to have that vision that it's something bigger than just myself trying to live, provide for me, my family. It's something I want to provide for everyone, a community, a huge amount of people.
I like it.
So there's this meme
Okay.
That summarizes.
It's hilarious.
Right? So it's that I work hard so that my dogs can have a backyard. So all joking aside, I mean, I do want my dogs to have a nice backyard. But all joking aside, I think it's the same thing as Jim. You know, it's you want to feel, or I want to feel like accomplished with my life. Absolutely. In the sense where I want to leave, I guess, work, right, or end each day feeling full inside. Mm-hmm. Whether that's empowered, whether that's like, I feel like I did something good for that day, whether that's for somebody else, whether that's for me. My dogs are my inspiration, so like that's part of it. But again, just making sure that I have the vision that I'm aiming for, and while I'm helping other people, I'm also achieving those goals.
Absolutely.
Right? And because I think that ultimately everyone has something that they're aiming for, and if you're actually taking the steps to do that, even if you're not quite there yet, like you're feeling good about yourself. And I think a lot of times it used to be really hard on being like, oh, I'm not there yet, I should be, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Everybody does that,
Absolutely.
especially with social media. It's kind of like the thief of joy because you're comparing yourself. But when you really try to just focus on being happy inside, I think that comes back to just making sure that you wake up every day and mastering one day at a time.
Yeah, and an exercise that we try to do, and you guys could try it too. It's kind of fun. It's at the end of the day, we'll text each other like, hey, name 3 good things that happened.
I love it.
3 good things. And it's like, it doesn't have to be work. Like, just think of that. And when you have a terrible day, that's that's when it's the best. And like you try to weasel out like, oh, like not the day for that. No, today is exactly the day for it. Like, think of 3, and you really, there's times I'm sitting there like for 10 minutes like, so 3, there's 1 and 2, and you're stuck there really trying to come up with the 3rd good thing. It just really helps with, at the end of the day, that mindset of like, hey, like, it's a good day.
Like, and I think sometimes too, like, we'll even go down the list and come up with a lot of stuff. But sometimes there's, you can have a great day, but there could be like 2 things that weren't so great, and most people spend their time focusing on those 2 things. Right? So when we do that exercise, we're like, oh wow, we're on like number 7. This actually was a great day. I forgot about this, and this. And so it really puts it in perspective, because like normally you'd be focusing on the 2, but now you're focusing on the 7. And it just gives you that much extra motivation and excitement about moving on to the next thing.
That's huge too. I mean, and then for me to piggyback on what you all are saying, I kind of do that. We don't necessarily do 3 things, but at my house, at our dinner table, our thing is phones aside. This is only going to take 15 minutes. We don't sit there and have lavish dinners. You know what I mean? It's 15 minutes. Put the phones away. Obviously, if it's ringing or something, we got to pick it up, but not text. We used to be sitting at the dinner table like texting, or open on the table, and you're just looking at it. Even if they're like flying through a group chat, you know how that goes.
I mute those.
Yes, you have to. And then we ask each other how each other's day was, but we try to keep it in a positive way. So as soon as my son's like, well, X, Y, and Z pushed me. I'm like, all right, dude, hang on. What did you have fun? And then he just goes through his day, and then we kind of, me and my wife share each other. But that is similar to that. But I'm going to try your little technique as well.
Because it makes them think of that, because it's so easy to, he pushed me. Like, that was
absolutely.
Well, what's a good thing?
It's hilarious.
Especially in school, too. Like,
But we had a YouTuber on, and he was talking about a similar thing. He now has 5,000 subscribers, and 150 comments on his one video, and one dude bashes him. And that's all he thinks about all night long. There's 150 comments like, good job, that's awesome, thank you, you're an inspiration. And one dude's like, you're trash, why do you even have a channel? It's like, and he dwells on that. I think that's human nature.
It is.
But it's very important.
You have to train your brain otherwise.
Absolutely. All right, so what's your recommendation to anyone trying to start their own, support group or going through this process per se? What do you recommend they do?
I would say if you're looking to start or build a community or something of this, start. Just start one. Like a lot of people talk about doing something they'll talk about, but if you just like how like how Angelique,
so true.
But how Angelique did it, like, hey, I'm getting a brunch, be there, right? And even if no one showed up, that was step 1, right? Absolutely. And then you got the ball rolling from there. So it's really just start.
And don't give up, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing, in the sense of, you can do something and it might not go well, but cool, now you know how to improve it. It doesn't mean it's not going to work. It just means that there's a better tactic to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And everything great takes time, as I'm sure you know. So it's not just an overnight. It's the overnight success over 13 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we have little sessions where we'll just be catching up about an event after the event. Like while we're driving home, we'll just be chit-chatting. And then out of nowhere, we get like 3 great next ideas that are just going to take the group that much further, right? So you don't have to be able to go from 0 to 100 and know exactly what you should do from day one. Just take the first step, and the rest will figure itself out.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm huge on start, take action,
Go.
do something. Do
Right.
one little thing.
Yeah.
It's going to push you a little bit further every single day.
Yeah.
We use this example all the time. We have people, we have tons of guests, outside of guests. Sometimes we even have people sitting here watching the show, and then afterwards they're asking a ton of questions because we invite them to, because they're like, oh, Jim, I want to start my own podcast as well, X, Y, and Z. All right, come watch. We're literally gave you an equipment list, everything we're using, how I plan it, how I go about it, how Gabe does the engineering,
How
and
we're
all that.
doing this right now.
Literally, physically coming, and nothing happens. Right, and it's for and some of the guys maybe took one or two steps that I'm not aware of.
Sure.
But still, this is not our background at all.
Yeah.
We have I'm in healthcare.
Yeah.
He's a barber. He's an IS / but not this kind of technology.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But we just had a passion, and it's one of those things like you have to start. No one's going to start for you. They're not going to understand your vision. It's a classic saying like you can't have someone else do your push-ups for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You got to do the work. You got to start.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's don't necessarily share it with everybody unless they're supportive people.
Absolutely.
Right,
That's
because
true.
because there's going to be a lot of people that think they're
Naysayers.
trying to help you by preventing you from doing it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, you know yourself best and you know what's right for you.
Yeah,
Right.
And
So
I found it. You said passion, right? Like you're gonna find you have a passion for something. I mean, this is a huge world. There's so many other people that has just a big of passion towards X that you do, and it's just a matter of throughout time, throughout trials and tribulations, building this to have them find you. If you build it, they will come, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's true.
All right, so before we head out, is there you have any websites you want to plug, any social media you want to plug, any
Sure.
upcoming events that you also want to plug?
Yeah, so our meetup page is www.meetup.com/DearDivorcee. So, and then our Gmail, if you want to email us and ask questions, is deardivorcee@gmail.com.
2 E's at the end if you don't.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you guys have social media or no social media that you want them to be aware of?
So we have a Facebook page.
Okay.
We're still figuring out between a group and a business page. If
Okay.
people look it up, they will see both. You are welcome to add both, you know?
Yeah, it's like
It's a little under construction.
One syncs with Eventbrite, but the one doesn't. The one's a better
Yeah,
platform.
so we're
Okay.
still
It's
kind of
just
in the midst
technical.
of that.
We need you to help with our technical stuff.
Technicalities.
We need to grow
I
our
like
team,
it.
Yeah.
but yeah,
I like it.
but-
Is there any like closing thoughts you guys want to leave off with?
No, just know if you're looking to start something, just start. You can
Yeah.
talk about it all you can. That's great, but just start doing it. And again, if you're looking for any divorcee questions, help going through it all, we're in DC, but reach out to us. Again, I'm living up here in Philly, Langhorne. We don't mind traveling at all, so reach out. We just want to be a resource.
Yeah, and kind of to that realm, if you're starting the process, don't be afraid to ask for help. I think building your support team is the best way to get started.
Yep.
And you'll end up at the end of the divorce a lot better if you have professionals that specialize in divorce helping you through it. So as Jim mentioned, reach out. We're happy to point you in the right direction. I'm sure family law attorneys that are in DC know people up here in Philly, and we could get recommendations. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, so there you have it, folks. We like to close our episodes with quotes. First one is by Bob Riley. Hard times don't create heroes. It is during the hard times when the hero within us is revealed. Second one is by Christopher Reeve. Once you choose hope, anything is possible.
Can I add a quote?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I got this one today.
I like it.
It is a good one.
Yeah, I get a quote emailed to me every day, and this one says, "You're not going to master the rest of your life in one day. Just relax. Master the day, then just keep doing that every day."
Love it. Awesome. Absolutely. Perfect. Empowered. In this episode, we have special guests Jim and Angelique of Dear Divorcee. We cover topics that range from empowering divorced women, social events, support groups, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Bob Riley and Christopher Reeve. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyLeeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyLeeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.